Our speaker this year is Terje Toftenes, who you may know as our videographer. But what you may not know about him is that he's also a talented Norwegian filmmaker, a writer, and a podcaster. In 2016, he released a 90-minute documentary titled The Creative Play of Consciousness, which has gained widespread recognition worldwide. It was the culmination of his personal journey to explore the mysteries of consciousness and life's existential questions. Also, 7 years ago, he overcame terminal cancer using an alternative treatment that follows a new approach to the disease. This experience inspired him to create a documentary and a book that introduced a new paradigm for understanding cancer as a metabolic disease. Terje's podcast, The Paradigm Pod, is a well-liked show in Norway that delves into new paradigms in various fields such as science, health, philosophy, and spirituality. He has also been involved in the Norwegian Parapsychological Association for many years. So without further ado, I'm very pleased to welcome Terje for his talk in honor of J.B. Rhine, the day before the paradigm shift.
First of all, I have to say that I'm very happy to be here. And I'm also very impressed by all the presentations that have been given at this conference so far, and for the work that the PA does, which I believe is extremely important in these times. And I also have to say that I'm very honored standing here at this podium tonight as the banquet speaker, knowing that this has been an arena for distinguished professors, scholars, and scientists over the years. And myself, I'm neither a professor nor a scientist. I don't have a PhD, but I've been engaged in these topics ever since I was a kid, and that's a couple of years ago. Well, as mentioned in the introduction, in 2016, my team and I at New Paradigm Films, which is the name of my company, we produced this film, The Creative Play of Consciousness, as a result of a personal quest, as she mentioned. And we did interviews with a lot of exciting people all over the globe, and people who were very interested in these topics, both the researchers and experiencers. And of course, I'm happy to say that even though it was a low-budget film, it has been seen by many thousands. So after being through that process, which actually took 8 years, you could ask, what was our conclusion? Because consciousness was the main topic. And so I would say, well, first of all, this is the cover of the film. But first of all, I would say that our conclusion was that, and can be framed as a question, are we facing the biggest paradigm shift ever when we recognize that consciousness is fundamental in the universe? And I think this is the most important question of our time, because the mystery of consciousness is quite simply the mystery of who we are. I'm not going to show you the whole film, but I'm going to show you some clips, and I want to start with showing the film trailer.
One of the really big questions we all face is, who am I? On the one hand, I'm this person, I'm a body, an object, but who's the subject? Who is the I that's witnessing Tim? Who is witnessing this moment now? Who's witnessing these thoughts arising, these hands doing hand stuff? What is that I? And if you dive deeply into that, something astonishing happens. The world turns inside out.
What is this incomprehensible mystery we are a part of, that holds in itself the seed of life, that makes a heart start beating? What is it that can create such an infinite diversity of species and such a breathtaking variety of flora? And what happens when we die? Is it the definitive end, or is there something more to come? Who am I, really?
Humans have asked these questions since the dawn of humanity. We are full of wonder at the inexplicable mystery that we live in and are a part of. But now, in the beginning of the 21st century, with all our advanced research, pioneering technology, and deeper insight into most areas, have we come any closer to an understanding? Or is science still unable to provide answers to these key questions?
It doesn't explain us, doesn't explain life, not to mention mind.
The thing that it can't explain, the big problem, is the existence of consciousness.
Because consciousness had not been a proper subject in science for 400 years.
If this thing in here is actually a quantum computer, then you can predict that it's actually not completely in there. It has aspects of itself which are sort of entangled out in the world.
That means that when we think, we create an energy. We're energy frequency generators.
Psychic phenomena like telepathy simply don't fit into the materialist worldview.
It's the creative play of consciousness. Where does it come from? Its inherent property.
The atomic level we live in, what we call reality, is actually 0.0000001% of what's actually there.
Are we really timeless? Does the I itself exist in an eternal now?
We don't die. We are eternal beings on an infinite journey.
And I just had this incredible state of clarity in that realm.
We're all talking about the same place, the same realm, outside of physical reality, far grander and more real than this realm.
My sense is yes, at that soul level we do choose. We choose when we'll be born, we choose in the circumstances and where we'll be born.
You create your own reality according to your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and expectations.
Am I here on a journey so that consciousness can expand? Is this what it's all about?
This is such an incredible journey that we're on. Not to recognize it, to wait until death is such a shame.
So, it's true, after some 300,000 years on this planet, we still really don't know who we are. But we have probably always felt an urge to know. I guess everyone from time to time has had this feeling of wonder inside. Who am I really? What am I a part of? What happens when I die? And what is the meaning of it all? Science has been our tool to find answers, to uncover the mysteries of the world. But so far, it has basically been a reductionist science, based on the assumption that we are living in a material world, where matter is all there is, and that matter is built from material particles. Living beings have been regarded as a sort of biochemical machines, us humans included. And consciousness has only been a strange product of brain activity, something evolution has given us to better manage to survive in the world with the dangers lurking everywhere. All plants, insects, and animals are regarded as biomechanical life forms, living by instinct with no consciousness to speak of. And if there is a meaning to life, it is to eat, grow, and survive long enough to reproduce, and maybe play the guitar in between. Apart from that, life has no deeper meaning according to science. But the world is changing. As cutting-edge science has developed over the past decades, it has revealed signs pointing beyond our materialistic paradigm and towards a new cultural era, a new paradigm in understanding the true nature of reality, labeled the holistic paradigm, and where consciousness is key to unlock the mysteries of life and the universe. So the question is if we now are living the last days before this major paradigm shift. Let's listen to one of the physicists of this new paradigm.
The Greek philosophers speculated that our world is formed out of minute material particles moving in a void of space, and this is the origins of materialism. Whereas in ancient India, the yogis could probe the atom with their minds using the animacity. They shrank their consciousness down into the atom, and what they saw was spin. The particles that we call electrons and protons are not material entities. They are systems of spinning energy. And the spin creates all the properties of materiality. In other words, the inertia of mass, the extension in 3 dimensions that we experience in matter and space, the force fields of electric charge, magnetism and gravity can all be explained by this vortex motion. So scientists in the orthodox normal world are busily explaining away spiritual, psychic, supernatural phenomena. They explain away non-material worlds. And I'm explaining away materialism. I'm showing that in fact we live in a non-material world. Because Albert Einstein is difficult to understand not because of his mathematics or his theories, but because of his worldview. What he's believed is that matter and light are real, but there is no material substance underlying them. And this is what we learn from the East. In the East, in Buddhism, in Hinduism, we're taught that there's nothing underlying the world except pure movement, pure activity, pure change. And this idea of material particles underlying everything is an illusion created by the vortex. And in India, they called it Maya, illusion. So what we realize that our world is formed of energy, where energy is nothing but pure movement. Energy, particles of energy are more like thoughts than things. So we're living in a mind. We're living, if you like, in a dream. We're living in an incredible active imagination. So the underlying bedrock of reality is pure consciousness. The consciousness imagines everything into existence.
Wow. Consciousness imagines everything into existence. But if so, what exactly is consciousness? Many lecturers on this podium before me and in earlier conferences have of course elaborated on this question. And I know that probably every one of you here tonight are very familiar with the different theories trying to explain it. And I also want to give it a try. But first, if we go back in time, founders of quantum physics also grappled with the same question 100 years ago. Erwin Schrödinger, Niels Bohr, and Werner Heisenberg turned to Vedic scriptures in an attempt to understand the depth of what they had discovered in the quantum world. Because what they saw at the subatomic level was that energy fluctuations had a strange ability to organize themselves so that it gave rise to subatomic particles, then to atoms, molecules, and all the various elements, just as the yogis had explained. But what was this ability? Where did it come from? What was more than just energy? Let's listen to one of the big thinkers of our time.
So this concept of space as having intelligence is really nothing else but the notion of a hyperspace of a fundamental field, sometimes it's called the new ether, which carries not only energy but carries information. Interestingly enough, you don't need to do much more than that, even though this is a large step already, than to assume that what has been known as the quantum vacuum, the fundamental field out of which arise the particles pairwise that make up the substance, the so-called matter of the universe, that this quantum vacuum is not only a field of virtual energies, as a source for the real energies in the world, but it also carries information. If you assume that what is happening in this quantum vacuum are these elements that emerge from it and that interact with each other, and that these elements, of course, are guided by and produce information. So you add information to the equations, as it were. Energy is fundamental, yes. Information is just as, or even more fundamental.
Okay. So energy and information is what makes up the world. When these two elements combine, is that what makes up consciousness? Or to put it the other way around, does consciousness present itself in the material world as energy and information? If that's the case, maybe consciousness can be defined as something like this: an encompassing, super-advanced, intelligent and creative information system. A system for creation, collection and exchange of information that is self-aware, self-organizing, self-learning, self-regulating, self-powered and self-propelled. A system that is all that is. A system that also has similarities to the AI system that we're so fascinated by today, and which we also are quite afraid of, because it might become too powerful. So what if we already live in such a super powerful system? Not artificial, but totally genuine, maybe even divine. Like David Icke said, we are living in a mind. And in this mind, are we like avatars? And maybe matter is like an interface in a super advanced OS, an operating system, and all life forms are like icons on a computer dashboard. Professor Donald Hoffman has suggested this in his recent book, The Case Against Reality. Along with him, many thinkers and scholars today actually suggest this might be the case, because it fits the data of the new science. So what if this is the case? Consciousness is all there is, and we are all part of it, and we can't get out of it. Well, in that case, we are all equally important players in the creative play of consciousness. I call this talk The Day Before the Paradigm Shift, because that's where I believe we are right now. But let's say we move on one day further, to the day when we have crossed the threshold and forced us through the stone wall of rejection and resistance and ridicule, the day when leading-edge science has established what consciousness is by uncovering its basic properties and describing how it presents itself in the physical realm, the realm of the relative, as a dimension in the realm of the absolute, to use a spiritual phrase. And then let's look at some of the anomalies that for a long time have challenged the old materialistic paradigm and see what they may look like in the view of the new paradigm. So, let's start with what we are all here to talk about at this conference, parapsychological phenomena. For over 100 years, we have been doing parapsychological research at universities and research laboratories all around the world. And of course, you know much more about this than I do. Anyway, the reason for all this research is that these phenomena are something that we observe in ourselves as a reality. Well-documented and strictly conducted scientific studies show again and again that these phenomena are part of the human experience. Telepathy, clairvoyance, remote viewing, mind-over-matter phenomena, healing, all the well-known side effects. But because it hasn't fit into the materialistic understanding of the world, it's never been recognized by mainstream science, although all the evidence have been overwhelming.
So we have done experiments using just the mind's eye to remotely look at systems like a double-slit optical system to see if the mind could interfere with the interference pattern, as von Neumann and others have proposed. And we did 17 experiments, and we published all of them. And to make a long story short, the answer is yes. You can see that there are changes in the interference pattern when people are asked to specifically think about or project their mind into that optical system as compared to when they're withdrawing their mind.
So, in this new paradigm, these are no longer paranormal phenomena. They are completely normal phenomena. Because consciousness as an information system means that the brain and also the heart and maybe other organs in the body act as transceivers, which are both transmitters and receivers of information. But this occurs at very subtle levels where science in the earlier paradigm were not equipped to pick it up. Now, we may soon see a change. We've already proven the existence of non-local entanglement. So, your brain can be entangled into the memory bank of consciousness, and maybe the file marked Homo sapiens sapiens, where it filters out just what it needs to make you function in the physical world. Research into this area may soon bring us long steps forward, also enabling us to communicate in completely new ways. And not only with other humans, but also with animals and even trees and plants, which, by the way, many indigenous peoples have been doing for thousands of years. Just think what the dolphins can tell you, or what does the fox say, or what can fascinating tiny organisms tell you about the condition of your skin. And various psychedelics will also be further explored as a fast track to healing trauma and expanding your view on reality, and maybe also to visit other realms. Let's move on to the anomaly of near-death experiences. Research by people like Raymond Moody, Pim van Lommel, Sam Parnia, Peter Fennick, and many others have shown that under circumstances of cardiac arrest or cases of coma with zero brain activity, around 10 to 20% report having an experience of leaving the body and floating up under the ceiling and even out of the hospital room while resuscitation is taking place. This is well-known stuff. Floating through a tunnel, having an afterlife review, meeting deceased relatives and also pets, in beautiful surroundings and a loving white light, and so on. You know all about this. Thousands of stories like this have been recorded all over the world, and numerous books have been written by experiencers. This will become standard knowledge in the new paradigm, and accepted for just what it is, a visit home to where your soul belongs. And to study what that dimension of existence looks like becomes a new intriguing field of science. Today, courses are already offered to those who want to provoke out-of-body experiences. This is from one center in Portugal where they run these types of courses. So this is a natural option and something everyone can obtain by training, and will also develop further as an attractive way of self-exploration. So, well, let's look at evolution, which also challenges the materialistic paradigm. Because Darwin's theory of development through natural selection was a captivating and liberating theory when it was launched 170 years ago. Throughout the materialistic paradigm, it was the most likely explanatory model in the natural sciences. But today, the theory has been challenged by several researchers. And I guess Darwin doesn't like that. Irreducible complexity is the key word. It means that when an advanced biological organism consists of a number of extremely complex systems, where all parts of the system must be in place at the same time for it to function, it's extremely unlikely that all these parts can develop in parallel through random evolution over a long period of time before suddenly becoming a complete well-functioning system. Organs such as an ear, an eye, or an organ of balance, on which all humans, animals, and insects are completely dependent, are so super advanced and complex in their design and function that it's almost inconceivable that they function at all. But they do, in all their variants and adapted editions. It's a miracle of nature, says the biologist. But how could so many complete wonders occur only by chance? Especially when, according to science, 99.99% of all mutations in genetic material cause degeneration of function and not an improvement. Well, in the new holistic paradigm, evolution is explained differently. Evolution is simply the creative play of consciousness. We see how the biological architecture simply has been developed through a guided system within the various greens of plants, insects, and animals, us included. This, suggested now by many, is a form of intelligent design, limitless creativity in a fine-tuned balance. Rupert Sheldrake has long spoken of morphic resonance, again, consciousness in action. In the new paradigm, we will look at all creations in nature in a totally new way. So, let's look at the intelligence of nature. When you study nature close up, it's impossible not to be struck of how incredibly advanced and harmonious everything seems to be, from the largest mammals down to the smallest single-celled organisms. Look at ants, for example. With the size of around 1 centimeter, they have a body that can support up to 50 times their own weight. And they all live in well-organized societies where each of the thousands of workers have defined tasks. Each little ant can observe, evaluate, and make independent choices to carry out tasks for the good of the community, in line with the rules and needs that apply to the entire ant biotope. In the middle of the anthill lies the queen. She has a body many times larger than the workers. Her task is to continuously produce eggs and at the same time be the head of the community. The workers ensure a stable temperature in her nest all year round and serves her the best nutrition. This is more than just instinct. This is consciousness in action. Fungi and mycelia are other examples. The mushroom's branches can extend several kilometers into the forest floor. It's like a forest internet and conveys information not only to all the mushroom fruits, but also to plants and trees. It helps the trees' roots find water. It helps plants find nutrients. A collaboration across species, so that the forest flora will survive and thrive. And the fungus itself has different creative methods of spreading its spores from the mushroom fruits. In Merlin Sheldrake's book, Entangled Life, How Fungi Make Our Worlds, Change Our Minds, and Shape Our Futures, he tells of a special fungus that invades the ant's brain and directs it to bring the mushroom bodies up into trees. This type of ant does not normally climb trees or plants. When the ant has found its way up high, the fungus kills the ant, and the fungus body grows out of the ant's head and spreads its spores with the wind. Just pure instinct, says the materialist. Now we know better. New research also shows that plants emit weak but specific sound signals to express different needs, such as when they want more water. It also shows that plants talk to each other, recognize relatives, and have memory. Plants have advanced senses, and new research shows that they also use the same signaling substance as mammals to detect attacks and damage. In the new paradigm, we open up a whole new era in the exploration and understanding of the intelligence at all levels in nature. So let's look at something we all have in common throughout our bodies. The DNA spiral. Our own bodies appear as the greatest wonders nature has produced. This year marks the 65th anniversary of James Watson and Francis Crick's groundbreaking paper, where they elegantly described the double helical structure of DNA. This created a revolution in the understanding of biology, followed by the Human Genome Project, completed in 2003. But we also know that our DNA, with its approximately 23,000 genes, still hides many secrets. And why do sea urchins have 27,000 genes, and rice grains 38,000? They are hardly more advanced than us, at least I hope not. The answer lies in the way DNA is read by different amino acids in the process of creating various proteins. DNA is the blueprint, but a form of intelligence is needed to decide what should be read at what exact time and delivered to the right place to produce the right protein. Until now, this has been explained as advanced biochemical processes. But what is in control of these processes? In the new paradigm, the DNA molecule can be compared to a keyboard. Because with only 88 keys on the piano, you can play any tune or musical piece ever made. It only depends on the piano player. With the 23,000 genes, you can produce whatever substance or cell function the body desires. It only depends on the DNA player. Then, who is the DNA player? When we look at the body's incredible ability to heal itself, or the ability of stem cells to develop various organs in a fetus from the first zygote, we cannot avoid being totally blown away. When stem cells divide or clone themselves, one part may develop to a toe and the other to a liver. What kind of information exchange is going on here? In the light of consciousness, we open up a completely new chapter in the understanding of genetics. And when we understand the deeper properties of genetics and what reads and controls DNA, we will also understand what causes cells to develop various chronic diseases, cancer included. Cancer cells are still an unsolved mystery in the materialistic paradigm. Why do normal cells convert to malignant cancer cells? Because the materialistic way of regarding the human body is incapable of solving the cancer riddle, all cancer treatment is aimed on attacking and killing cancer cells with weapons also damaging the surrounding healthy cells, leaving deep scars in the body. In the new paradigm, we look for the cause to cancer and find why these cells choose to act as they do. Already there are frontier scientists like Professor Thomas Seyfried of the University Boston College, along with a growing number of international clinics, who define cancer in a new way, as a metabolic disease caused not by bad luck, but bad environment. Because all our cells are smart, intelligent beings, in the sea of consciousness, they adjust to the present environment in the local body fluid surrounding them. And when the environment gets too toxic of a variety of reasons, they mutate to survive and alter their metabolism. 7 years ago, I myself developed cancer. It was a special type of lymphoma, a cancer in the skin, with several big tumors. Well, let's look at something nicer. Following their statistics, the doctors gave me a maximum of 32 months left to live. But I didn't want to accept that. So, with a complementary treatment conducted by a naturopath, aimed at finding and treating the cause, my cancer healed within 6 months, and I've been free from cancer ever since. Because my doctors didn't want to listen to what I'd done, I made a documentary about my experience and later wrote a book about it. So, understanding the mind of the cancer cell and treating the cause, not only the symptom, is the new approach in the new paradigm. So, when you see this in a larger perspective, it opens up very many new possibilities. That's what I want to convey. Let's move on to the anomalies in the quantum field. The new understanding in quantum mechanics tells us that energy arises in the form of quantum fluctuations in vacuum or the fabric of space. Let's hear what a very popular cutting-edge quantum physicist says about this.
We live in an amazingly energetic universe. It is present everywhere. The structure of the vacuum, the energy present in the space, is 10 to the 93 grams per centimeter cube. It's enormous. And the physics we're writing now is showing that it has real physical meaning. And even the Casimir effect, which is an experiment that's done in laboratory to prove the existence of the energy in the vacuum, shows that there's mechanical effects that can be produced from that energy. So a very small amount of that energy becoming available to us through technical and technological means would change our world, our paradigm forever. No longer would we be going around saying, oh, there's not enough energy for everybody and we must fight for it. There is infinite amount of energy present everywhere, and starting to understand this and starting to understand the mechanics of how that energy works leads our scientists and leads our engineers to technologies that will completely transform our world, in which we will be able to extract energy directly from the vacuum at any point in the universe. And not small amounts of energy, enormous amount of energy, more energy that we could ever use on this whole planet. And that this energy can be used without interfering with our biology, with our biosphere, without polluting, as well that it can be used to produce gravitational field, to produce space drives, to allow us to go through our solar system, to allow us to travel inside our galaxy, or even multiple galaxies, or even multiple universes. There is an amazing possibility there. I don't believe the universe put us here and didn't give us all that we need to be completely free and to be abundant and thrive in our universe. I think the discovery of this energy, the discovery of this connection that is there between all things through this energy of the vacuum, and how to use it, how to harmonize with nature, is eminent. And that our society is currently making the choice to move towards sustainability, towards a thriving community that has the capacity to have as much energy as it needs, as much resources as it needs, because it's able to move through our solar system, through our galaxy, anywhere it wants to go. And I think we're actually going to enter with this new level of understanding and technological advancement in a larger community, in a larger brotherhood, sisterhood, that may involve other beings from other star systems, other planets, and even maybe other galaxies or even other universes. I think those connections are available, and that we are going to start exploring those connections as we develop technologically and move into a whole new way of interacting with our universe.
Well, thanks to Nassim Haramein, he's one of my favorites. And when we look into our universe through our space telescopes, we have now found 40 billion planets in our own galaxy with possible conditions for life. Because water and CO2 is discovered on many of these planets. And 2,000 billion galaxies are so far detected in the visible universe. So if you take 40 billion times 2,000 billion, well, that tells us that life most probably is spread out all over the place. We on this planet just haven't developed far enough yet, because we are a quite young civilization. Today, the US Congress is on the fast track to acknowledging that we have been visited for a long time by craft probably from extraterrestrial civilizations. The evidence seems quite clear. It's actually overwhelming. Released film and radar observations from fighter planes speak for themselves. Let's listen to what the media says.
Highly anticipated congressional hearings on UFOs taking place this week on Capitol Hill.
It's the first hearing on the topic in more than 50 years. Pentagon officials telling the committee that the danger of unidentified aerial phenomenon is very real for military aircraft and potentially for our national security. And intelligence reports released last year counted 144 sightings of flying objects that U.S. officials could not identify. Lawmakers were shown several video clips of objects that the Pentagon says they cannot explain.
That is correct. It is verified that UFOs are real, they're physical objects, that they are machines, that they outpace, outmaneuver, and outperform our greatest weaponry, that they can turn on and off our nuclear weapons, that we don't know where they come from.
And again, this year on July 26, 3 whistleblowers from the highest levels of defense and intelligence came forward with incredible witness statements. Especially the testimonies of David Grush made headlines all over the world. Everyone concerned with the UFO phenomenon were thrilled. Is disclosure coming at last? What happened in New Mexico of July 1947 may soon become an open history book. And this was just one of a series of intriguing cases, filed in the deep cellars of someone who has put themselves above official authorities. I, myself, have been somewhat over-average interested in this subject since I was a kid, and back in 2010, we produced an internationally award-winning documentary on the global UFO phenomenon, The Day Before Disclosure, available from my website, newparadigm.no. We also did a documentary on the strange Hessdalen lights here in Norway, and also on the crop circle phenomenon, which is very apparent, especially in southern England. But in my opinion, the UFO subject alone has the potential to kickstart the whole paradigm-shifting process. And maybe we can finally get an answer to the classic question, why don't they land on the White House lawn? Let's listen to one of the real pioneers in this field, Dr. Stephen Greer.
Erwin Schrödinger, who was the father of quantum mechanics and particle wave theory, stated 100 years ago or so that the total number of minds in the universe is one. And in fact, that the consciousness is a singularity, phasing within all beings. And this is also the heart of compassion of the Buddha and the source of the oneness spoken of in spirit in all the religious traditions and Native American traditions. And I think that we are going to have to return to a very deep spiritual understanding of what it means to be a conscious being, to be able to not only live on this planet peacefully and not blow each other up over sectarian differences, but also to go into space. Because when you look into the eyes of an extraterrestrial life form, they may be very different from us in many ways, but if you see that that being is conscious, and the light of that conscious spirit is the same as the conscious light within yourself, then you can find some common basis. And so if we understand the single source of the origins of our conscious being, this is true not only for humans, but it's also true, very much true, for these visitors. They understand that, because you cannot travel at multiples of the speed of light without crossing the light barrier. And when you do, you enter into this area that the mystics used to call the etheric, astral, conscious realm. And so you're dealing with civilizations who understand that. And I think that is the big test of our civilization at this time, is that we understand that deeply enough that it really does change our paradigm. And when we do, we're not going to be blowing each other up because of different interpretations of this Bible or this Quran or this religious figure or what have you. That we're going to understand that we really are all one people in the entire cosmos. And that universal consciousness and universal understanding, to me, is the thing that will truly transform life on this planet and is the next big leap in human development.
So, sooner than we can imagine, we may welcome the day after the paradigm shift. The next big step in our development as a civilization. Our next cultural era, the holistic paradigm. Which tells us that we are all one, all part of the same whole, just like the spiritual traditions have always told us. And because we are truly all one, everything affects everything, with all the implications it entails. This might be closer to the truth than we ever have imagined. So finally, back to the initial question. Who are we? Maybe we can answer like this. We are individuated islands of consciousness in the sea of consciousness, exploring to our best ability the possibilities based on our individual designs, potentials, and passions. Continuously feeding information back to the whole, thus helping to shape the future development of the whole, which in my view is a very meaningful state of existence. At least we can say with a great degree of certainty that life is magical, and that the nature of reality is far grander and more spectacular than we ever imagined, and that the future is full of new and exciting possibilities. Personally, I have a strong belief that my grandchildren and their descendants will face a far better and more meaningful world. So, I hope this presentation has sparked some ideas about where we might be heading, and I will end here with one last but still unanswered question. What is behind consciousness? Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Terje.